Hey guys, J-Man here. All right. So normally we'd be doing our Thursday talk, um, just about whatever comic stuff came out, blah blah blah. But I thought I'd go a little old school. So Sean, Steve, and I used to do. We had a blog called the Phantom Zone, which is where I got this thing from my YouTube channel, and we would talk about movies and all that kind of thing, all that kind of stuff. I thought I'd come back to that for a little bit, just for today. I just, I got inspired to talk about this movie, and it's one of these ones where there's a lot to talk about. So now, the way this is going to work is that the three of us are going to talk about it a little bit, and it's only going to be Green Knight related for today. We're not going to discuss any of the other stuff. We're not going to discuss like Marvel and all that. So if you want to know about the Green Knight, or if you have any thoughts or whatever, that's cool. We can talk about it. If somebody wants to come in, and give their thoughts if they've seen the movie, then obviously that's going to be okay. I already have at least one or two people who want to come in and talk about it. So I will, once I see them appear in chat, or once they message me, I can message them back with the link and everything. So, okay, I'm going to bring in Steve and Sean. Hey, Steve.
Hey, J-Man.
All right, so we got good audio for you. We're having a little bit of tech issues. Let's see how Sean is. Sean, can you hear me? Yep. Everything, we can hear everybody. All right, good. Okay, so we all watched the movie. Now the thing, none of us discussed this movie at all, even though we watched it like a week ago or whatever. or Steve just saw it a few days ago, but Sean and I watched it like, when did you watch it, Sean? A week ago, or whenever it came out, right? Like
whenever it came out, yeah.
Yeah. So let's. Hey, skeptic, how's it going? What's the Green Knight we're gonna tell you? And no, I'm not the Green Knight. You wouldn't want me to be. Actually, you wouldn't want me to be the Green Knight. Although I am the Green Knight sometimes in this in when we do Danger Room, and I have to get rid of people, and then I become the Green Knight. And take care of business. TCB is what we always say. So, do you want? I mean, should we do our normal space review? I guess for this,
Yeah,
I'd like to do just maybe a quick space review, and then I'd like to have you guys tell me your history with this subject matter. Because I'm pretty sure I know Sean's. I think I know Sean's history, probably similar to mine, but we can all explain our little history, with this topic or whatever, and then we'll just see how it goes from there, I guess. But okay, so let me get my sheet here. So. So the way it works is it's space, it's story, pacing, artistry, characters, entertainment. Then you get a 0, 1, or a 2. At the end, you get a score out of 10. And we're gonna start in a second. Steve is the White Knight. Yes, Sean is the Red Knight. I know. Green is my favorite color. So, but I actually don't have very many green items. I did before, and then they're kind of gone now. And I will get some more though. Has anyone cried on stream before? No, I don't think so. And I don't think that's going to happen today. But okay, so let me get so story, pacing, artistry, character, enjoyment, and then the total. All right, so let's go, Steve. What do you just the number, because we're gonna go through all of it.
For story?
Yeah.
1.5.
Sean?
1.5.
Steve for pacing?
1.5.
Sean?
Yeah, 1.5.
Artistry?
2.
Sean, artistry?
Yeah, 2.
If it wasn't 2, we would just end the stream right now. Okay, interesting. Characters.
1.5.
Yep. Sean?
Yeah, 1.5.
Enjoyment?
1.5.
Yeah.
Same thing.
So what do we got here? Okay, so now I'm doing live math on the air. So we got should be what?
Should be 8.
Yeah.
So both of you are giving it 8. Okay. I'm hosting the stream, so you know where I stand. It's 10. Obviously, I think it was.
Yeah.
I thought this was genius. Okay, so we're all agreeing that it's pretty damn good. Now, okay, so I was interested in doing this because Sean and I talked about this for just a second, and he's like, well, it's not really an artsy movie or whatever. And I thought, well, I mean, maybe not to me, because what got me on this is that we're sitting there, we're watching this movie, and my wife is watching with me. She really liked it. We both agreed it was like 10 out of 10. And then we started to talk about it, and I'm like, wait, do you not know what the Green Knight is? And she's like, no. She's like, this is like, she didn't know anything, like zero, nothing at all, like period. So she's telling me all this stuff. I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm thinking, well, everybody knows what the Green Knight is. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't think that they do know what the Green Knight is.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I was like, well, I know Sean knows, because the people I'm talking to who are like, oh yeah, Green Knight, this is cool. And then there's people who are like, oh, what? Like I'm telling them something and they're like, oh, is that what this is? I was like, oh dear. So this movie, you either are in the know or you are not in the know. And I know Steve was not in the know. And I know Sean was, just because his reaction, when we talked about it. So then I talked to and my wife was not in the know. And a bunch of people at work didn't know what the hell this was either. So, and they're all varying ages, like a couple of people older than me, a couple of people younger. All right. So I'm not going to, I'll tell my experience like at the end. So Steve, you knew nothing about the Green Knight at all, with anything. Like to you, this was a movie that was just made right now. That's just a movie.
I literally thought that Gawain was the Green Knight. I thought that he was the Green Knight. So like when this big ass tree thing walks in, I'm like, okay. And then, immediately I'm like, this is very interesting, because the Green Knight sort of gives him the way out when the speech is made, like the game is put forward. And I'm like, I wonder if he's going to be smart enough to just give him a scratch versus the beheading. And he went all out for the beheading, probably because he's thinking he's not walking away from the beheading. And he does. And I'm like, oh, and then of course it's like a too fast here, which I'm like, yeah, exactly. Now he's got to go and pay it. And it's the journey, right? So I had no idea. I knew Gawain was a member of King Arthur's Round Table.
Right.
Like I knew that, but that is literally all I knew walking in. I didn't read the chivalrous romance. I didn't read any of that.
Right. Okay. So, other people, Liam Neeson was Gawain, and I say Gawain.
I do too.
Each person says it differently in this movie, which explains why the font was different. I don't know if you noticed this, right? Because and David Lowery, who's the director of this movie, he had every actor. He didn't tell anyone how to pronounce it. He let them pronounce it the way that they know the tale. Yeah. Now, some of the people, the guy who played the Lord, and they have names, these characters in the poem and all the other iterations. But we're not going to use we're going to say the Lord, right? The Lord is the guy who he sees right before the Green Knight of the castle. The lady is Alicia Vikander in her secondary role as the lady in the dress. Essel is the Alicia Vikander as the prostitute.
Yeah.
And then there's Morgan Le Fay, like Merlin does nothing. You don't even need to mention him. King Arthur, Guinevere, we know those people already. Anyways, so okay, so yeah, so you basically didn't know any of this stuff going in. Like I've had people when I was talking to them saying, "Oh, well, I mean, like, okay, so King Arthur's there," and they're like, they didn't even know that it was King Arthur. They're like, "What?" I'm like, "Okay." So Liam Neeson played Gawain in Excalibur, which was my big time mega favorite movie.
Yeah.
And Sean's got this one, I think. Now this one I got to get a better edition because there's apparently a Blu-ray, because this is standard, Sword of the Valiant.
Sword of the Valiant.
Do you have this one, Sean?
Yeah, I do.
You do. So this is the version. I just realized that this is the standard version, not the widescreen, which is really
Right.
irritating. So I have to get the widescreen now. I didn't realize there was a Blu-ray. So Sword of the Valiant I grew up on, where Sean Connery plays the Green Knight. Miles O'Keefe is Gawain.
Yep.
And that's about it for like how close this is to the poem. I read the poem. Sorry, I'm getting into my story. We'll let Sean tell his in a second. Okay, so yeah. So and then the guy who played the Lord, and I just forgot his name. What's the actor? He's
Joel
Edgerton.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Joel Edgerton played Gawain in the King Arthur one. I should have taken that out. The one with what's her name as Guinevere. It was Clive Owen and Skinny Girl.
Oh, Keira Knightley.
So he was Gawain in that. Now he's playing the Lord. So that was kind of neat. That's kind of neat. Who else played Gawain? Was Gawain in First Night? He must have been. He must have been, right?
I haven't seen that movie. I haven't seen it.
Oh no, it's great. It's not too bad. I haven't seen that in ages. Anyways, so Sean, what's your background with the Green Knight? And then I'm going to do a super brief synopsis of the poem and a super brief synopsis of this movie.
Well, like growing up, there's actually a lot of Arthurian
Mm-hmm.
movies like on TV and
Yep.
in film. Like it's kind of well, I would say it's lost, but then again, there was like a King Arthur movie like 2 years ago. But
Yeah, with what's his face from
it's fairly like easy to usually it's just like Arthur and Merlin and stuff. It's not really like centered around the other tales. And I got to know the other tales mainly from I had Harvard Classics library. So Harvard Classics is it's like 1902, and and it's all the old like tales of everything before they were touched by Hollywood and all that stuff. And they had the King Arthur legends as they were known in 1902, and I read those on and off. I like the fact, I mean, they're poems. I like the fact that they were like brief adventures. If you really pay attention, you get like an adventurous like something cool like that, and meeting up with guys and stuff. And so Gwen is one of the more interesting. I mean, like there's changes, right? I mean, he is a knight in the story, and here he's like proving himself. I don't think he's a knight in this movie, right?
We're gonna discuss that because when Arthur knights him, you could interpret that as he's passing on his kingship to him.
But that's in a sequence. We could get to that. That's in a sequence. That's not really canon.
Correct. That's that. Correct. That is in
the movie. In the movie.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I mean, that's where the point wives came in with my space, just for changes because I'm an asshole. And it's just
no, but the whole thing is. Then Sword of the Valiant is 0 out of 10.
I know.
It's like that movie is rubbish. I just watched it today just to remind myself. I watched it 100 times as a kid.
Yeah, my thing about this, I really like this movie in that it takes all the magic stuff as part of the world. And when the Green Knight comes in, like they're stunned by him and stuff. But there's other stuff like those giants. He's like he wants to hitch a ride on the giant, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
It's like he meets up with that ghost, and he's like, hey, it's a ghost, like, well, say hi to your mom for me, and it's like it's all sort of like I love the Arthurian world of that movie, and of course the look of it as well. So I wish King Arthur type movies like took this stance, like made things look beautiful and also take all the magic of it and not try to be like, well, if it were real, what would it be? It's like, it's not interesting. That's the whole reason why these legends have existed all this time. It's, if they were the real tales, no one would care and they would suck and we wouldn't even know what they are,
Right.
So, anyway.
Okay. So, I mean, yeah, so I got the same, like, I didn't have that particular one, but we talked about Arthurian tales in, it was grade 7 history class, and me and my friend of mine, who you guys know who he is. We haven't seen him for a while. Not that one.
I know what you're talking about.
So him and I loved these tales, and we would have debates. And no, I'm not sure if you do know who I'm talking about, Steve. It's someone who I never hardly ever mention. Anyways, him and I would have like long discussions. We had like a 2-hour discussion on Excalibur, whether Sir Gawain was a better fighter or true versus Lancelot being a better fighter or false, because Lancelot's a better fighter than Gawain in Excalibur. Morgan Le Fay, who is in Excalibur, it's clear, but in Excalibur, Morgan Le Fay is either his aunt or in this movie, she was his mom. Now that's an interpretation thing. I've seen it where Morgan Le Fay is Gawain's mom, but I've also seen it where she's the aunt. Anyways, in this movie, she's the mom, and I think in Excalibur she might be the aunt, though it's not clear if Helen Mirren is aunt. It doesn't really say. But anyways, she whispers to Gawain saying, "Oh, the king is false, or the queen is false." He accuses the queen and says that her and Lancelot are together, and Lancelot is like, "We haven't been together." But he goes, "In my heart," he's like, "I'm true, but not in my heart." Right? In his heart, he does love her. So there's this whole thing where he has to fight for his honor, and a knight who is true cannot lose to a knight who is false. But Lancelot almost gets killed there. Really, Lancelot should wipe the floor with Gawain, right? Like he's waiting, but Gawain almost kills him. So that's showing that there's something kind of fishy going on. So we had this debate. Anyways, I love Beowulf. That's a Viking thing, not an Arthurian thing. But Beowulf, Green Knight, these are all like the big epic poem things that I knew about. So I've read the poem Green Knight, and I reread it now in a translated version.
Yeah.
But actually, usually the translations are tough, but this book, this came out with the movie. This I highly recommend getting for anybody who wants to read it. This is a very, very, I don't want to say simplified. They translated it into simple modern English. Simple modern English, not old English. Because I'm telling you, the old English one, Beowulf, I got through. I have two different Beowulf translations. For Gawain, I don't have any translations in physical form. So I listened to the audiobook from Librivox, whatever. They're good. And it's a very tough, you really got to pay attention. So in the poem, this is the poem. Green Knight shows up, does the challenge. So for people who don't know anything, like Skeptic doesn't know what's going on. So what happens, Skeptic, is this is the King Arthur. It's the Knights of the Round Table. It's Christmas. They're having a great time, whatever. Beowulf movie was weird. Oh, this one's even weirder than that. So the Green Knight shows up, and he literally looks like a tree god or whatever, right? So he shows up, and he's like, okay, I've got a challenge to any knight. They can take one swing at me, and I will return that swing a year later. Gawain steps forward. He takes a swing and cuts off the Green Knight's head in one swing. So the Green Knight then picks up his own head, and he's like, it's like, okay, I'll see you in a year. And you're like, holy shit, what the hell happened? So he rides off. Then it's a year later. The Green Knight, or Sir Gawain, goes to meet the Green Knight at his chapel. He stays at the Lord's house, and the Lord makes a deal with him saying, whatever the house gives you, you have to give back to me. And whatever I hunt during the day, I'll give to you. So that he goes and he hunts a boar. While he's out hunting, the lady of the house tries to she kisses Gawain and tries to have sex with him. He declines. He stops her thing, but she does give him a kiss. Then the king comes back, or the Lord comes back and gives like some I don't know what animal it was. It was like a boar or something. Then the next night the king goes out. Oh, sorry. And then that night Gawain gives the Lord a kiss to return the kiss that he got from the girl. The Lord goes back out, brings back, I don't know, whatever it is, like some other animal. And then during that night, he got 2 kisses. So he then returns the 2 kisses to the Lord. The Lord goes out the third night, brings back a fox. This is where I remember this one because the fox was in here. He brings back a fox. And now during that night, he got 3 kisses, but the lady also offered him a ring. And he's like, no, I won't take an expensive ring. I can't take that. But then she offers him a green girdle or a sash or a lash, however you want to talk about it, say it. She gives it to him. She's like, this will protect you from all harm as long as you're wearing it. He's like, okay, so he takes that one. Then when the Lord comes back, he gives him 3 kisses, but doesn't give him the girdle or the sash. Right. He doesn't give him the sash.
Yeah.
He goes off to meet the Green Knight. The Green Knight's like, okay, the Green Knight's revealed to be the Lord, that he was just there. And he's like, you basically passed all the tests except for the one. You didn't give me the sash. So he nicks him to prove that, or to give him teach him a lesson or whatever. And then we find out that Morgan Le Fay was the one who was behind the Green Knight. She did the whole thing in order to test Gawain, but also to scare Guinevere at the Christmas Eve party, because she's She's just a piece of shit. Okay. So now in this movie is way different. Now, Sword of the Valiant, which is the movie I showed you earlier, that is just like a quest. It may as well. Hey, what's Clobberin Times, you man? Yeah. Oh, hey, Clobberin Times, what's going on, dude? How's it going? Talking about the Green Knight. Okay, so I'm not sure if you guys saw. I mean, there's no spoilers for this movie because it's going to be open to interpretation, and my interpretation was kind of messed up because I know this story. So my interpretation of the end is like completely different than everything that my wife thought on this thing. She was completely different. Okay, so that's that. Sword of the Valiant is different. So we're not even going to really. There's not really any comparison to Sword of the Valiant at all. It's like that's a canon. Like, is it an 80s movie? It's an 80s canon movie. So it's cheese as hell, but I love it. Sean Connery is like chewing the scenery up big time in Sword of the Valiant. He's great.
I didn't know it was canon, man.
I think it's canon.
Well,
it's MGM. It says MGM. But
it's MGM, yeah. But
I thought I saw the Canon logo come up. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, that's brutal because I just watched.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Anyway, it's Miles O'Keefe, who's basically He-Man. He's got the He-Man haircut.
Oh yeah. That was the Prince Valiant haircut.
That's the Prince Valiant haircut, right? So this is called Sword of the Valiant: The Legend of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, and it has nothing to do with the Green Knight. Now this really almost has nothing to do with the poem either. They completely changed the crap out of it. Like Winifred shows up, and she's got her story that's been woven into the Green Knight story. So I don't know what you knew about Winifred, but they kind of like retooled that to make it a Green Knight thing. Okay. All right. So how do you want to go about this? I mean, do we want to talk about?
Do you want to go through the virtues?
Sure.
So it's friendship, generosity, piety.
Yep.
The other two.
Courtesy. Well, okay. So now
and chastity, of course.
Chastity, of course. But now I was looking this up, and friendship sometimes gets changed with chivalry.
Okay.
And I prefer chivalry for this movie.
Yeah.
And I'll explain why when we get there. Okay. So we know that Morgan Le Fay makes the Green Knight.
Yeah.
That's there, right?
Like, they show it.
They literally show you that.
Yeah.
Okay. So he goes, beheads him, picks up the thing. I'll see you at the Green Chapel. That's it. Anything in the beginning that you noticed that was interesting? Like, I mean, I noticed the font was different. I think that's just because it's going to be everyone's has a different interpretation of this. And also everyone says his name differently. What else? We saw that she was doing a pagan ritual versus versus like Christianity or whatever. It's like she's got the circle and she has all that pagan, right? And the circle's the round table.
Yeah.
So somebody said the round table wasn't completely round because David Lowery wanted to make it look like the C in Criterion, so that Criterion would make it. There's no way. Oh, Miles
O'Keefe.
Oh man, I love Sword of the Valiant, and Miles O'Keefe is awesome. He's like, he beat up Dev Patel. I think he would beat up Dev Patel if they fought in the two Gawains multiverse Green Knight. If the two Gawains met, like they'd fight. Miles O'Keefe with his thigh-high boots would defeat him. Okay, yeah. Sorry. Well, anything else?
This is just an actor thing. The guy who played King Arthur was Sean Harris, who was the villain in the last two Mission Impossible movies. He's got this really distinct voice, like very raspy, like. I always thought like he was perfect. It was weird for me to see him as King Arthur because I've only seen him as villains. So, and King Arthur's like one of the ultimate heroes of like lore. So,
now did you know? Not knowing anything before starting, when did you realize that it was King Arthur and Guinevere and Morgan and
I knew it was King Arthur right off the bat. I knew Sean Harris was King Arthur.
Okay.
I knew Guinevere. I didn't clue in that the mom was Morgan
Le Fay or Morgana. I don't know. I say Morgan Le Fay, but that's probably more due to comic book
Yeah.
Me too.
Is that,
I
I
do
know
that all the time.
because in one of my favorite movies ever, Excalibur by John Boorman, who also made Zardos, a great movie. They always say Morgana.
Yeah.
So sometimes I say Morgana. I'll be going back and forth. It's so good that the movie can forget.
Yeah, Tarzan the Ape Man. I was gonna say that's where I know him from.
Oh,
So,
listen. Well, any Tarzan movie is a good Tarzan movie. Pretty much. Okay, yeah. So Steve, so you knew pretty much right off the bat. You're like, okay. Now, when did you ever clue in to that being Morgan Le Fay, or until I just said it today?
No, I actually read the Wikipedia article afterwards.
Okay. Did you know it during the movie?
No, I didn't know during the movie at all.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine because my wife didn't know that either.
Yeah.
And in fact, I did not clue in till like I was thinking, I'm like, wait, who is this? And for some reason, it just didn't click to me because when this story veered off into like something completely different, I was kind of lost. I'm like, whoa, where am we going? When I first watched this movie, I pay attention to every movie, but like, I'm eating and I'm kind of watching, I'm like, okay. And I thought it was going to be a conventional story, like a conventional night story of the round table. Yeah. And then I start to realize, I'm like, well, Merlin's not doing anything in this. I'm like, where's Morgan Le Fay? You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, what is happening here? And then I'm like, oh shit, wait, am I missing? I'm like, oh, this is an art movie. I'm like, I should have paid attention.
Yeah, it's an art studio.
So it's an art studio. I don't know. And I never seen any David Lowery movies. Okay, so sorry, Steve. So throughout the whole movie, you didn't know?
Yeah.
And then after the movie, you researched a bit.
I researched it. I read up on the actual poem.
Yep.
That's how I knew like the actual story. I do feel that this is just based on it. I mean, the ending is not the same, but a lot of it is there. They did throw a lot of other elements in, but it's a movie, right? Yeah. Like, so that was fine. I felt like the movie really got started on the quest. It felt more like that because until then he was just he was just not lackadaisical, but he was like this ruffian, right? Like this is actually, and this is going to sound really freaking weird. This is actually Shakespeare. I think it's Henry IV, part 1 and 2. This is very close to that, where it's Henry IV was this ruffian, but he was really the king. He hung out with Falstaff, who was a criminal, and they had a whole bunch of adventures, but he was a no good. And then a lot like what happens with Essel, or Esel, I don't know how to say it.
Essel, yeah.
Essel. At the end of Henry IV Part 2, Henry becomes king, and Falstaff is like, oh, my friend. He's like, who is this man? I don't know him. And I felt a lot like when he turned his back on her in the vision. Yeah, I was like, wow, this is Henry IV. Like this is that story that they've sort of interwoven into the Green Knight story.
And that's that vision there, that's not in the poem at all.
No,
the poem is a straightforward. The guy. We're going to discuss whether he passes or fails each test because I've watched a shitload of YouTube videos. And some people are saying one thing, and I'm thinking I'm not agreeing so much with.
He fails a lot of them, but like I guess there's some passes.
Okay, okay. So let's go back to what Sean started off with. So we've got the 5-point star, and it's not the upside down Satan.
No, it's not the pentagram.
It's not the pentagram. It's like so you would say pentacle, I guess would be a more appropriate name for it. So it's the one, and you guys can look it up. It's the one that is interconnected.
Yeah.
So when you do your
one line that does the thing.
It's one line, and it's supposed to do the 5 points. So piety, that's like your sort of belief in God and your religious faith or whatever. Chivalry, okay, that's obvious. Courtesy, chastity, generosity. Now, sometimes people say friendship instead of chivalry. But I think knights are supposed to be chivalrous, right? That's like kind of the thing. So I kind of like that terminology better. But what's the other thing? Before we get to his quest, Morgan Le Fay gives him the sash or girdle.
Yes.
It's more like a sash in this. It doesn't seem as big, so it's more like a sash. I guess it looks cooler.
Yeah.
Which plays into the ending, which we'll get to. So she gives that. He doesn't get that from her in the poem. He gets that
Right.
from the lady, but Morgan Le Fay is present. Well, both in this movie and really pretty much in the poem, she's there kind of. It's implied that she's watching or whatever.
It's that lady with the thing.
Yeah, that's Morgan Le Fay in this
Yeah.
movie, but in the
Yeah.
poem also. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone caught that, right? Like, we don't even
Yeah.
need to. That's like super
Yeah.
obvious, right?
Yeah.
That's they threw a few. David Lowery threw in a few obvious things to get for the people who don't want to pay attention too much. Like, oh, is that the same girl? David Lowery pulled out his Willow figures. Did you hear about this? I watched an interview with him. He pulled out his Willow action figures.
Mm-hmm.
And then realized that he didn't have the whole set, and then actually went and bought the rest of the set. And he's now put them up on his thing and did like a big. He's done like a big scene with them and preserved them. He now has all the Willow figures, and that inspired him to make this movie. They started thinking, "Oh, I really like the Green Knight. I want to make a movie on it." And then he started, and he mentioned Passion of Joan of Arc, which is one of my favorites. I've got that on Criterion. And he mentioned Dracula, the Bram Stoker, Francis Ford Coppola. Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. Is that the official title?
Yeah.
You mentioned that, which does have a lot of good visuals for sure.
Yeah.
He talking about Willow. I'm like, yo, this guy, and talking about Passion of Joan of Arc, throw that shit in there. That's friggin' awesome. So I'm like, this guy is awesome. Anyway, what else? Anything else that was important in that first bit before the quest? I guess that was the main takeaways from before that, right? Like Arthur wants to do stuff, but he's too old. The knights are pretty lazy.
He's not a knight. That's kind of important.
Yeah.
So is he a knight or isn't he a knight?
No, he's not.
No.
He's not called Sir.
No.
And in his vision, he's knighted, and that's after the.
That's afterwards. Now, yeah, he's never called Sir. So, and he keeps denying that he is a knight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's not.
The inference at the Christmas is that he does Arthur doesn't say, "Oh, you belong to be here because you're a knight." He says, "You're my nephew, basically," and that's the inference why he's kind of like, "Why am I sitting up here with you?" And it's like, "Well, you're family."
Yep.
Because he doesn't feel he belongs to be there. So
it's
he's like, what do you see, like legends, and he's like,
tell
me a tale of. He's like, I don't got anything, man.
So. It's because this is important. So in Morgan Le Fay creates this scenario in order to give Gawain a chance to become a knight because he has no story.
Yeah.
That's the takeaway of the first bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, I think that's pretty obvious.
Does Gawain, as seen in that first act of the movie, deserve to have a chance? Is it just because he's the nephew?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't deserve it. I mean, his first act, he screws up because he beheads the knight.
Oh yeah, no, but okay, yeah, that can be part of the first act, yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, before that, so Morgan Le Fay is giving him a chance. So the Green Knight is the chance. That's the beginning of the chance.
Right.
Before that, does he really have knighthood in him? As seen in this movie?
He hasn't proven
anything. He doesn't.
He hasn't proven anything.
And Morgan Le Fay wants to get the throne somehow, right?
Yeah.
So she's grooming him so that she can rule through him, is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So she's
by his side, like in the vision. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think the thing is that, like, they're making it clear that she has no other sons or whatever, right? Because any son of hers is, brown or whatever, brown person, right? So, but it's important in this movie because it visually connects them, right?
Well, I was gonna say, like, that's the thing no one talks about is the race bending of
well. So, and normally I would be the first. I'll be the first person to get on top of that.
Dev Patel has done this before. He was David Copperfield in a
I know
version of that. Yeah. And they never said anything about that. It's just here he is.
Right. I don't care about race bending if it's like a completely fictional character that we've never seen anything for. Like, I mean, Gawain's not a real person. Because what my reasoning behind that is that if some filmmaker in Japan wanted to do a Green Knight story, he would probably cast people in Japan. To tell the Green Knight story.
Yeah.
Then we can't go and say, well, you can't make that movie.
Right.
This is not like a Winston Churchill biopic
Biography,
or something,
yeah.
right? Where you're like, oh, we're going to cast someone else. Like, no, that's not him. Like, if I could pull up a picture of the person in real life and be like, no, that is not him, right?
Yeah.
Something like, like
mythical
like this. I don't care too much. I saw someone mention that as a negative point. It honestly didn't even affect me at
no,
all.
I never saw anyone mention it though. But
I have. I actually did.
The thing is, he's coded white. If you really want to get into race theory, like, because there's no, you might as well just be one of the knights. Like, they never mention anything about it.
It doesn't.
There's nothing ethnic about his portrayal of the
correct.
Correct. So, exactly. Yeah. It could have exactly. Yeah. I think when people race bend now, they do that in order to get their little virtue signals or whatever, their little woke Twitter feeds. I don't think David Lowery literally is doing that because, firstly, nobody knows what the Green Knight is anyways, so nobody even knows that that this could potentially be seen as race bending.
Yeah.
So nobody knows what he's in.
Yeah, he was cast supposedly because he's a likable actor, like people like him.
Wow, he is great.
Talented.
So you have to go along because he's kind of not despicable, but he's not super likable in the movie. And so, but you still want some, like, the audience to go with them. So he's a good dude to,
Yeah, when he got rolled by that guy in the beginning, I was like, F this guy. But again, we're gonna get to those challenges. Okay, so Act 1 or whatever, we've kind of picked that apart, right?
Yeah.
All right, so now we got the five challenges, right? There's a puppet show which I want to discuss as well. One thing
technology really went downhill after that puppet show.
I noticed that immediately. This is awesome. Like the technology of this puppet show. Okay, so Morgan gives him the sash. That's important for the ending. I'm gonna mark that because the first thing it says kindness or whatever, a kindness. And he's out on the trail and he meets that one boy or whatever. And everyone's been dead. And he's like, oh, my brothers are dead. And, everyone's dead. And I was with my mom, so I missed this battle. And he's like, oh, you're going to the Green Chapel. It's that way by the river. And he's like, oh, thanks. And then he just walks off. So that was supposed to be generosity. Do we agree with that?
Well yeah. He says to him, like, is my directions only worth a thanks? And he flips him a coin. Right. And he obviously fails that one because he gets jumped. Mm-hmm. And the boy says to him, it wasn't enough. And you're like, you got to go off that one. Like that's an obvious fail.
So the theory is that guy is the Green Knight in disguise. So, if you're going by that, because the first thought would be, well, he was always going to get jumped, right?
Right.
But he takes the axe, and then later, jumping ahead, the axe appears when he passes another test, in quotes. But
yeah. Well, he sort of passes it. He doesn't pass.
Yeah, I know it's not. Yeah, we'll get to that challenge, but.
So the thing is, I find a lot of these ones. So I was just getting message. So I'm just responding. I think with a lot of these tests, it's like I don't think he super fails badly. Like. He's there.
He learns from a failure and he perseveres.
Yeah, and do you count it as a fail if the first response is wrong? Because it's like, okay, is that all it's worth? And he's like, yeah, my thanks. So that's a fail. Is that an automatic fail of that virtue, or does he then say, well, here's a coin? Is that a pass, or is that like a C minus?
The one coin is a weak pass.
It's a weak pass, but it comes after a fail. It's like
he learned from it, but he still didn't give enough.
He did. Okay. Yeah. At the end of the day, the boy is the judge of the pass, and the boy doesn't pass him. So he fails miserably the first time. When he tries to compensate, it's not enough.
Right.
It's seen as too little, too late.
Okay. So so he fails that one. Then that was kindness. The next one is Winifred. Now her thing is that when her head was cut off, the head fell into the dirt and like a well like grew out of it, or like water came out of it. So that was the whole her head in the water thing. I was gonna call that. Now some people have called this something else. I was thinking that was chivalry, and the reason is
courtesy.
Right. People said courtesy. I thought chivalry because she's like, oh, can you help me? It's like, oh, well, you got to help the big poor woman out. She lost her head, and he's like, yeah, but what's in it for me?
What's in it for me? Yeah.
And then she's like, why would you ask me that? As to say, you're supposed to be chivalrous and you're supposed to help me. Some people have said courtesy because he sleeps in her bed and all of that, right? But that place looked deserted, right? Like, I don't think he was trying to be a goof there. I think courtesy is to follow the rules of the house you're living in when the Lord of the house gives you guidelines saying.
So what are you saying is courtesy? Chivalry is friendship.
Right. I know. No, I'm saying there's no friendship.
Piety.
No, I'm saying there's no friendship in this one. It's chivalry instead, and not friendship.
Yeah, I would say chivalry because it's doing an act. It's selflessness, right? Like to ask for something in return is a selfish act.
Right.
Would the friendship challenge though be the fox way at the end?
Yes, I saw people talking about that. I'm not really sure. I
didn't know how to read that fox.
Didn't understand that either. I was gonna call that fox just enough, not even a challenge. It could be part of piety, actually. Which we can.
He makes friends with it, and then later on shuns it.
Right, but I don't know if friendship is like I don't like because friendship seems weird to me. I don't know. I'm looking these up. I was looking them up, and a lot of people have said different ones, and friendship is in there as one of the things.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll get to that one. We'll get to that one. Okay. So where are we at here? So what did you think, Sean? So you think that was friendship, or no? What did you say you thought that was?
Which one?
The Winifred.
Winifred, courtesy. And I even took the whole thing of what's in it for me as a courtesy fail too. But then he goes and gets the thing, presumably expecting nothing other than just like giving her the head. And then that's what gets him the axe. Now the thing is, the way the movie is what?
Yes, that's what I'm getting at. When it's a pass, he receives.
It's a pass in the movie, but like
receives a gift.
I don't know if I would allow it.
It's not a clean pass, right? He fails that, and
but the action is the thing, right? He still doesn't expect anything when he gets out of the.
But he's sort of like ashamed to do it, right? Like he's sort of like chastised by her comment, and then he does it. But like there's a question if he would do it.
Yeah.
He doesn't do it. In my opinion, he doesn't do it because ultimately, out of goodness of his heart, he does it because she shamed him into doing it. But with her question, why would you ask me that? And he's like, oh. And then he's like, yeah, I shouldn't be. And then he does it.
Does he get the fox after the kindness or after the Winifred?
After the Winifred. The fox is on the lawn when he comes back up out of the lake or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So so if he had given more coin upon being asked for more, or saying this isn't enough, and he says, "Oh, I apologize, here's more," would you have said that was a pass, or would you have? Because again, is it the first reaction that determines a pass or a fail?
But beyond reaction, what Steve is saying is like, then what is guiding your next action? Like, is what is guiding you? After she said, well, why would you ask that? Is he shamed into it and it's still a selfish act to get that head? Or is he like, you know what, I'm a fucking knight, and then he goes in and does it?
Well, he's not a knight. That's
what he should do.
Or he wants to be a knight. So I would say that I don't think his intent, I don't think it was that. I think his intent was more like, or his thought process was more like, you know what, shit, I really should do this. I don't think he was like,
we're missing one challenge, and I don't think it's one of the points, but when so he gets rolled by those guys, right? and he's tied up and everything, and they show him dead, and the camera pans around stuff and it shows him alive, and I took that to mean that's what could have happened.
Right.
He said, you know what, fuck it, I'll die here. At least I know
that's exactly right.
I'm in one piece, and I don't have to face some fucking green monster.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm done.
Yeah.
But then he's like, you know what? Let me face up to this.
Yeah.
Let me. So that was him leveling up a bit, I think.
It was.
Because he could have just stayed there and died. And obviously that was what could have happened. And then he's like, you know what, F this. And he fights, he struggles, and he gets out of that situation to go forward. He's still going forward to his doom, right? So
And I think that's why in the next bit he's not. I don't think he's shamed he's more like woken up, like, yeah, what am I doing? Like, I should get this for her. Because he still could have been like, well, I'm not going to go in the water. Like, I've got an appointment to make. You know, he could have still been a douche about it, right? Plus, she's a spirit. He could have just been like, whatever, like, get your own head or whatever.
whatever, man.
So he does do it, and the movie is calling that a win because he gets his axe back out of nowhere. Yeah. That axe is just
it's like a video game.
It's literally a video game. And that so now we're at the part of the movie where I start to wake up to be like, okay, I need to really focus in on what's happening here. I'm like, because where did that axe come from? And I thought, okay, I've missed some big point of this. And I'm like, okay, let me pay attention. And then I watched the rest of it, paying attention to every detail. The thing is, I usually eat when I watch movies, and when you're eating, depending on what I get, and I think I got shawarma that day, so I'm like shoveling shawarma in my mouth, and I'm like looking up, yeah, okay, I get what's going on. He's riding, you know.
So the evading death thing is chivalry in that he's going on his quest willingly. Knowing full well that it could result in his death. And he's not taking the easy way out of just the easy death on that road.
What if it was his religious beliefs or his, well...
Yeah, because he's going forward to... Even when he's at the mansion or whatever, and the guy's like, oh, you know, this is for his journey home. I was like, huh? Like, he doesn't even expect to go home from this, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still thinking like, okay, so Winifred, you think would be what? Friendship? No, what did you say? Courtesy. Yeah, I don't know.
And chivalry, I guess.
It's got to be chivalry because it's like a woman asking you, go retreat, help me, brave knight. You know, and
I
he's
guess
like,
the courtesy is at the end, like it is in the poem.
Yeah, it has to be courtesy. Has to because it's like you're at that guy's house, and he's like, okay, you can stay with us. I will feed you. I will provide food. But anything that you get, you must return back to me. He's like, well, what would I get that you don't already have here? He's like, well, who knows, right? So that is the courtesy. It's like, I'm at your house. You know, I should be courteous to you or whatever. But anyways, okay. So where are we at here? Yeah, the axe. Okay, so he gets the axe. And then we have the exchange of winnings, which is the courtesy, right?
Yeah.
And then there's also the chastity, which is obvious. The girl's trying to make it with them. Now he super fails that one.
He just on his hand, man.
Yeah. So now the courtesy he failed, and then but he gets the sash though. So I don't know. Like he got rewarded for kind of failing.
He took the sash, though.
Yeah. No, she gave it.
Huh? He needs the sash because he's not brave enough to take on death at the end.
But he lost those things, right? Like he gets a reward for passing. He gets the axe, then he gets the sash back because he had lost that, right?
Right.
That guy, she had it and she gave it back to him.
Right.
But he failed. So
yeah, but it's like if he was a true knight, he wouldn't need the sash, and. Like the axe, he's just returning. The axe could be seen as courtesy as well, because the Green Knight says, "Return my axe." So he brings the axe. I actually think almost every mark is the five. Like I would even go back to the beginning. The Green Knight is a guest in his house, and he beheads him. There's nothing less kind or chivalrous or courtesy than beheading someone in your own, like. He comes as a guest and he gives him an option. And the first thing he says is, you can give me a scratch on the cheek or a blow or whatever. And he beheads him. He goes for the exact worst option, which to me is like, well, a knight wouldn't do that. Right. So I think he needs the sash at the end because he's not a knight. He's not brave enough and you know he's going to like not sit like kneel there and take the blow to the neck. You know that, like when he skitters away, it's like, well, yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm thinking the sash is the piety. Like he's like, as long as I have this, I'm safe anyways. And when he gets rid of it, he's now has his faith in God that, you know what, I will die an honorable death and I will now go to heaven or do whatever and I'll be good. I think that was the test. Was are you going to use it or not? Because we saw what happened if he doesn't stay, and if he keeps the sash, he can't be harmed, but everyone else around him has a shit life, right? Pretty much. And then through that, he has a shit life. So he's at the end, he's like, you know what? Forget this thing. He removes the sash. He's like, I'll take my head. I'll take my shot. I'll die an honorable thing, and I'll be a knight. You know, I'll die as a knight, as a true knight or whatever. I think that was the last test, to have faith.
Faith, yeah.
Right. So like the sash is not a reward. It's part of the next test that he has to do. It's like, so I don't think it's like the only one he semi-passed was the one with getting the head for Winifred. All the other ones he sort of fails except for at the end he passes that one. And then I don't know about the fox thing. The fox is just Morgan Le Fay saying it's yet another test. She's like saying, why don't you just leave all this behind, come back, don't worry about it. No one's gonna know, right? And just come back. And he's like, no, screw this, right?
Well, he hasn't proven he's going to be a knight. The fox is saying to him, you're going to get killed. Right? Like if you go through with this is your end.
She's giving, it's Morgan Le Fay, right?
Right.
She's giving him an out, but that's still part of the test. She doesn't want him to actually go. She wants him to go through all of this, and she wants him to win at the end. That's what I'm thinking. And he does win at the end. Like, do you think he dies at the end?
Yep.
Well, so the director said he dies at the end. So
where did he say that, Sean? I didn't see
I can look it up. I'm pretty sure.
You can show it to me after if you can't find it. But
yeah, he said that in his version, yeah, he dies because what you're seeing in that vision is what would happen anyways, and by killing him, you evade the downfall of the English Empire and all that stuff, right? That you saw in that vision.
Yep.
Now the movie seems like it's leading towards he gets a lenient pass from the Green Knight, who just says off with your head and that's it, because he learned a lesson, and then he goes on from there. I mean, even the manor guy was like, "Oh, for your journey home," you know. So they didn't really intend to kill him.
Now that guy is the Green Knight in
the poem. In this thing, the Green Knight turns into everybody he saw. But this is wonky though. Yeah.
That was very subtle. I only noticed that on my second viewing. I didn't notice that on my first time. That was super subtle, but I'm like, why are they pausing on this guy for so long? I'm like, oh shit, I could see the faces changing.
Yeah.
But the thing is so again, my interpretation is I know the story. He just gets a nick on his neck.
Right.
And so I'm like, well, that's what happens. And the thing is, when he says off with your head, he says it in a fun way. Like, I think he was literally saying, go away.
Yeah, that's what it looks like he's saying. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, well, off with your head. Like, you know, go off and retain your head. And, you know, that's it. So I literally thought that's what
I feel like, despite what the director says, I feel like that's what it is. I mean, why else would that delivery be like that? And why else would the guy at the manor be like, oh, your journey home and everything? Like, obviously that's what it should be. But like, I guess the director's just being a prick. Like, just saying.
I don't think I haven't seen where he said what the ending was, but I mean, like that's what it's all. It's like Morgan Le Fay sends him on this quest because she wants him to succeed and have a story. So why would she now here's the thing. Now we go back to something else. The puppet show. The puppet show shows him getting his head cut off.
Killed, yeah.
My wife said that she thought the puppet show takes place after the credits.
Oh.
I thought of that too.
Like it's the story of what happened.
Yeah. I personally feel like the Green Knight did do it because the legend of Gawain can't now be screwed up by him screwing the prostitute when he comes back, having an illegitimate kid, all that stuff, like going back to his sort of woebegone ways. His legend will last as a knight who did the honorable and righteous thing and faced
Right.
the Green Knight at the end. So I thought the Green Knight did kill him, because to me the enchantment was true. Like, whatever you give to me, I'm going to repay to you in a year. So she gave him a year to take on, what he could do. Like, she gave him a year to repent. And he didn't repent. He didn't do anything. Like, he had a year to do what, the right thing. And he just kept doing the same thing. And it's like, all right, maybe at the end, like, if you're not going to make something of yourself here, you'll make something of yourself in Legend with your final act.
So, I linked you to Vanity Fair. It says Vanity Fair. It's not some bullshit thing, right?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm looking at it. Lowery says shot a more explicit and definitive version of the ending, but with that, it's too sharp.
I'll read you his quote. So, so this is Lowery. I wanted to write an ending where his head gets chopped off, and that's a positive thing. That's a happy ending. He faces his fate bravely, and there's honor and integrity in that. But that doesn't mean that he's dead. He's killed. He received the blow that he was dealt, and all is set right within the universe of the film.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think that means?
So that's what he wanted, or what did he? So that doesn't mean that that's what it is.
Yeah.
Because like for me, I mean, like for me, it's like, what is there? Like, it's like a futile point. Then it's like, okay, yeah. But Steve made a good point just now. Like, he retains the legend because, if he comes back, he'll be a goof again or whatever, right? But I don't think he would be a goof I don't think he would be.
No, he's learned some lessons there.
But he's going to end up bringing down the kingdom. And I think that vision that's given to him is probably also given to him by Morgana Le Fay. Like, I think that the thought process is that the only way this is going to turn out well for Gawain is if the Green Knight kills him. That's the only way that preserves his legacy in any sort of positive light. Every single thing he does, even when he does the right thing, that's not his first thought. He walks away from the kid. He was not going to give him a coin. He's just like, my thanks. He asks Winifred, what are you going to give me? Right? He does what he does with the lady of the house, and he doesn't give the Lord the sash. Even when the fox shows up, he throws a frigging rock at it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't know if I'd want a fox approaching me.
I know, but like, he never, if you look at the events, he never makes the right decision first. Right? He beheads the Green Knight when all he had to do was give him a scratch on the cheek or something. Like, he never makes the right move initially. He makes the right move eventually, but after maybe realizing it, maybe being pointed out to him, whatever the case. The lady of the house says to him when he, ejaculates, she's like, you are no knight.
Yeah, the whole Green Knight test, though, it's like he cuts off his head when he probably shouldn't have, but the Green Knight presents his head. Like, it's not like it's something he thought of, like, I'll just cut off his fucking head. Like, the Green Knight intends for him to do it. He goes like this, and it's like, you can say, well, he could have just scratched him. That would have meant cleverness, right? Like, It's a different context. Because if it's just the Green Knight just stands there and is like, okay, do what you want, and I'll do the same to you in a year. And so everything is open to him. And if from there he said, well, I'll just cut off your head, that would be super weird. But in this movie, and correct me if I'm wrong, J-Man, is that the way it is in the poem? I can't remember. Like, he presents himself as...
he basically, like, literally, like, goes like, it's almost like going like this. There you go, buddy. Take your shot.
Yeah.
It's made more clear that it's a swing at your head.
Yeah. So you have a choice.
Less interpretation.
Where you could be clever and say, well, if you're going to do the same thing to me as I do to you, then also they don't know that he's immortal.
Well, I mean,
now hold on. Now in
that-
Sword of the Valiant,
Yeah.
it's more dickery than that. It's like, take my head off if you can. You know, it's more like,
yeah,
you know, like Sean and you're like, well,
I'm
it's like,
Sean Connery.
I'm Sean
Well,
Connery, so
but the thing is too is that a scratch, like he's doing it in front of everyone. A scratch to the cheek isn't going to cut it.
Right, he wants to prove himself.
He wants to prove he's, you know, the man. And I believe, like, I think Guinevere freaks out in the poem or something, and they're like, I think it's both Arthur and Gawain are like, no, it'll be fine, Like, I think they really like don't. From what I've heard, they don't really take it that seriously.
Oh, Arthur is in the poem.
Yeah,
Arthur is super relaxed. He's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you know, well, in a year, go check out the chapel. Let me know. Like, dude, you know, what
I
the
love
hell?
in the movie, he does it, and everyone's stunned silent, and then Green Knight takes off, and then they cut back to the round table, and I was like, yeah, and they're like clapping and stuff. I was like, best Christmas ever.
Yeah.
They start like posing and
It's like
yeah,
freaking
dude.
Christmas, oh, like
Yeah.
Christmas 1492.
You see
It's like-
Merlin. Merlin's a sneak because Arthur was gonna go get up and do it, and Merlin's like, no, don't. Did you see Merlin only has like one good shot where you see him clearly, and he's just like,
yeah, I forgot Merlin was in this thing. Yeah.
like, no, don't. He's just looking at him like, yo, don't even think about. Don't remember Van Damme in Double Impact. Don't even think about it, pal. Don't even think about it. He's got like the big cigar. It's like Merlin's like, no. And then it's like, well, does anyone else want to do this for me? Now, I mean, okay. So do you think the sash actually had magical powers to the point where if he didn't take it off, the axe would like break or not hurt him?
No.
I don't know, because it's the nature. What is the nature of that vision? Is it just him speculating in a blink of an eye what would happen? Because in that vision, it looks like what happens is it's the Green Knight for him. It's like he gets his head cut off and he's able to put it back on because everyone's looking at his.
Oh, we lost Sean. Is that just me or?
No, we lost him.
Okay, so what? Okay, so remember once he had that vision of what was to come, he removes the sash and then his head falls off.
Yeah,
because he knew that once he removed it, so it's like the axe went right through him, and it didn't decapitate him, or he put it back on, or he put his head back on, or whatever.
Yeah,
that's what Sean was about to say. So the green sash in his vision, if it's his vision or Morgan Le Fay's vision or the Green Knight's vision, saying, "Hey, if you don't stay here, here's what's going to happen." I don't know, or is it just symbolic that his head falls off because now he can die? Right. That's all very. It's all. Oh, Sean, you back?
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you hear what I was saying or no?
No, I didn't hear shit. What I was gonna say was in the vision, everyone sees the wound on his neck. So it's like it's implied that like the same thing that the Green Knight can do, he can do with that sash, right?
Yep.
And so, what is the nature of that vision? Is that true canon, or is it his speculation? Or what is that, right?
His speculation. I don't think the sash. I think the sash is symbolic, and the sash is taken off him because he doesn't need it. Really, it's not going to do anything for him. And when he gets it back, it's because he hasn't earned the right not to have it. That's the thing to me. Like he's gone back to needing the sash and needing to believe in the sash to face the Green Knight. Right, like that's the thing to me. It's just like, you know, the axe coming back to him. It's like he's earned that, but again, like he really shouldn't want to bring the axe back to the Green Knight because the Green Knight's going to behead him with the friggin' axe.
Yeah,
right. Like
yeah.
to me,
yeah, but he has to do it to satisfy his honor. He has that conversation with the lady talking about, oh, I'll be this great man with honor and all that.
So he aspires to do that.
This is that entire thing is super important. Like that talk with her, because she's like, well, she's basically saying, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's green. Oh, why is he green? Oh, because of this, it's the rot and all that.
Yeah.
And
The
it's
rot,
like, and she's like, well, like, does it matter? You could just be a regular man. Like, just be a guy. It's like, no, I need to be an honorable, great man and all that. He wants to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, and if it's his vision of what's going to happen, in his vision, he drops Essel and marries that other girl for uniting the kingdoms or whatever. I don't know who that was supposed to be because I don't know who Gawain marries in Arthurian legends.
Yeah, but why does he want to be a knight just because it's the thing to do? It's like it's the coolest thing to do. It's like when people apply for management or something like that, and it's a shitty job. But they do it because you're a manager now. Like it's that kind of. It's like, is that the only reason why he's doing it? Like, honestly, in this film, it's not very clear. Like he sees the knights, he's like, they're legends. But it's like, do you really want to do this? Because it doesn't seem like you do.
Well, he got forced into wanting to because he took the challenge, and now he's got to do it. Because if not, the king even goes up to him. Arthur goes up to him and is like, "Okay, dude, you're going, right? Like, are you getting on your way now? Like, it's like, it's getting to that time here, buddy."
You're gonna say, Steve?
No, I think like he aspires to be something better than what he is, right? I think he aspires to be all of those qualities that he fails at, right? But he's not good enough. And like that's the storyline throughout is he's almost good enough, but he's not quite good enough. And like, but I think he wants to be that person. I think that vision at the end teaches him that he is that man, he is that person, but he's got to believe, he's got to do the right thing finally. And the right thing is kneeling there and taking the blow. Like, to me, that's the culmination of it all, is that he understands at the end he can be that person. His final act, which is kneeling there for the blow, is the only selfless act he makes through it, because he sees that if he doesn't go through with it, his life is going to be miserable. He's literally going to end his frigging bloodline. His son dies in the battle. The woman he loves has nothing to do with him. He's in a loveless marriage, and he doesn't even have a male offspring. His male offspring dies, which is important back then, right?
Right.
So I think he understands that at the end, this is the one selfless act he's going to do to prove himself to be a knight.
But is it more selfish than selfless? Because it sounds like, oh, I'm going to have a shitty life, so I may as well end it now and have honor and have everyone tell my tale of honor. It's almost more selfish than to live.
It's not that, but I think it's more selfless than what the alternative is. And I think the hardest thing to do is to kneel there and take a blow to your head knowing you're going to die.
No, I don't think it's selfish, because he's thinking of honor in terms of like what people think of you and why they think that. And it's like, what were the actions you took for them to throw shit at you, right? It's like, and so when he does make that decision, part of it is I don't want people to throw shit at me, but also part of it is like, what is it though that makes people respect you, and what do I do for the world in order for the world to think that I am honorable? It's a little selfless,
Yep.
Can I just say too, like, there's a point, it has nothing to do with anything, but when I saw this, I was super impressed because it came out of nowhere. And I knew they did this, but for him to just throw that little detail in was crazy. So he gets to the end of the path, and remember, there's the 4 roads.
Yeah.
So there's the roads. So did you guys see the cage with the skeleton in it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what that was?
Oh, that's from Willow, right? He threw that in there as a thing from Willow, but I don't know what it was in the movie.
No, in real life, that was done too. Do you guys know why?
Oh, was that like a punishment, like leaving someone out there?
It was, but like, okay, so it was. I think they call it a gibbon. Yeah. And what they would do is they would have people in there, and they would literally die in these cages as sort of warnings to opponents of the king or whatever, and saying this is what would happen to you.
Right.
But it's super important that it was placed at a crossroads, because the thought process was, if the ghost of the person who was killed comes back, he won't know where to go. He'll get confused by the crossroads.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's why they put them
That's
at
awesome.
crossroads to confuse.
That is
their
awesome.
ghost.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I'm like, this is just a very minor
awesome.
thing to put in there, but I'm like super impressed he did that.
Yeah, he said that he wanted to have a guy in a cage like in Willow.
Yeah.
Because that was what's his name? Val Kilmer was in that cage or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he knows that cross thing because that's not a coincidence,
Yeah.
right? Like
Right.
that's not a. But that is an awesome detail. I didn't know that's what they did. That's really cool. So I mean, the like King Arthur is not messing around. He's like
Yeah. Yeah.
Did so the little girl at the very very end, was that the daughter? Who was that little girl at the end credits as the stinger at the, or whatever, not stinger but like post credits?
I took that as his daughter.
Yeah, she's playing with the crown, but like she's not born if he's dead.
I know.
So what is she then? Or if he's alive, then Sean's frozen again.
I don't know. I feel like she was it's like he was, when he saw that vision, he obviously took the different path, but I think it was showing if he had taken that path and that he saw in the vision, she would have actually taken, like, she would have assumed the throne, which is weird.
Yeah, so Sean, did you hear what we were saying or no?
No.
So who is the girl in the end credits?
Oh, I don't know. It's like I for whatever reason I thought she was the one that was being told the story to, because someone's telling a story in the beginning. Although like they show like Dev Patel's head go on fire and everything, but
that was the for those who came in late segment. It's like there's a boy who pulled sword from stone. This is not him, in case you're wondering. This is a different guy that you don't know.
Yeah.
Charles O'Keefe played him in the 80s.
Everyone knows the Sword and Stone and Merlin and all that shit.
Yeah,
this story is not about that.
Yeah, this is not him. That's literally what that was. That was the beginning to like for those who didn't know kind of a thing.
Yeah. So who's the girl? It's one of his girls?
Well, I don't know, because if he's dead, he didn't have any kids. So if he died in the head chopping.
Well, no. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So unless we're saying that was still part of the vision, like Steve was alluding to, maybe that's still part of the vision somehow, but I don't know. Like, I don't know who that girl was. Who was that damn girl at the end? Yeah. So my questions were, okay, the knighthood, the passing the test, which ones he passed, which ones he fails, how to get his weapons back. We answered that. Did he die at the end? I'm saying no. Steve, you're saying yes. Sean, you're saying no or yes?
I'd like to be no. He doesn't die.
You like it to be no, but you think it's a yes? It's a no, I think. I'm going to say no. Screw it. He's alive. He goes back and he does other pumped up adventure. I always want a part 2. I always want things to continue. That's my problem. Yeah. Like, it's like Jason's never dead at the end of Friday 13th. Gawain, if Jason can survive, Gawain can survive.
Yeah.
And did the girdle or sash actually work, which was really interesting? And is the puppet show the future?
Yeah.
Or is it the present? And they're just assuming, because those puppet shows are kind of run by dicks, right? Like that, because like they're like, oh yeah, well he's just gonna die at the end. Here's the story. It's like, Punch and Judy. Is it literally? Are you literally supposed to watch that puppet show and be like, oh shit, this is what actually happened? And this is the way his story is now being told to everybody going forward. So my wife thought if it's the future, then he's definitely dead. Yeah. Because that's the story they're telling. So Steve, would you say it's the future then to support your argument of it?
Because if it isn't, what's the purpose of doing that? You're scaring the kids.
I think that is the purpose. That is what those puppet shows are. They're just trying to be dicks. Like they're like, I think the puppet shows are being run by a bunch of like artists who are like, screw the monarchy. These guys are all dicks. Gawain, that idiot goes and gets his head chopped off. And it's like, here's it's like a mockery of
right.
of his thing, right? That's what these people do. They make fun of the aristocrats or whatever, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's some merit to that argument. To me personally, though, like you would be pretty ballsy to do that to a kin of the king. Like Arthur seems to be a pretty like lax king, and he's the good king, and all that. But like, I still wouldn't want to start making fun of his, in that sort of nature to his family, like before it's actually happened. And especially with kids there, like they're going to run off crying, and then we're like, what happened? It's like, oh, these guys, and they're like, okay, we're going to go in the cage with that poor bastard at the end of the crossroads.
Right.
It's possible that that's true, but I would like to think that it is the future, and they're telling the story of Gawain after the events have happened.
But he did use it as a time passage thing as well.
Yeah, he did.
Which would, so it could still be, it could be within the year.
It could be.
And they're just speculating that now he's going to get his.
Yeah. No, I just took it as his impending doom is weighing on him. Everyone expects him to fail here.
Yeah. So, he's not a knight, right? Everyone knows he's not a knight. Like his reputation precedes him. So
like
they're like,
one guy,
he goes out, he's going to get massacred.
Yeah, he's like, oh, it's the Green Knight guy, and then gets punched out the window.
Oh no, because he said his mom was a witch.
Oh yeah,
that's why
he punched out.
Yeah. He was okay with. He goes, oh, so you're Gawain. Hey, he's the only guy in the movie that says it the way I said. I'm like, great. Yeah. I'm like the uncouth guy, the uncultured. We would say Gawain, and some people say Gawain.
Yeah.
The King Arthur said it were. Sorry?
Garwain. I heard Garwain.
Yeah, that was the king. That was like super wrong. I'm like, buddy. I'm like,
yeah.
Where'd you come up with? Yeah, where'd you come up with that one? Like,
where's the R from?
Yeah, Garwain.
He's British, it's like Godzilla.
Garwin sit next to me. It's like it's Gowan, dude. Like, learn how to pronounce it.
Yeah. I'm your nephew. Come on.
And the king will use Excalibur to cut his face off. Excalibur shined a little bit. Did you notice that? It
shined
a little bit. Just a little bit to show you that it's pumped up.
It's funny. Hands him Excalibur's like, here, use this, because he's thinking like, he's thinking like, nothing's going to go through this guy's neck. Have you seen this guy? Like he's like a freaking tree man. Like you're going to need a big ass sword to go through his neck.
Tree man.
I literally said tree man in my head. That's terrible. Sean and I have the same. I was going to say tree man. Tree man.
I'm going to revisit this guy's catalog because, like, I didn't watch Pete's Dragon. I don't know, Steve, have you seen it or
no? I haven't seen the original though.
Oh no, I like the original, but
it's cool.
I know he's doing the new Disney live action Peter Pan as well.
Yeah, Peter Pan.
Well, it's not going to be all weird like this. It won't be. I don't think it'll be this weird. It'll be normal. Yeah. But I didn't see Ghost Story. That was the one where the guy's in a sheet the whole movie.
Yeah. Is that what that is? I heard that it's not a ghost, so I didn't bother with it.
Oh, I know. I think it is a ghost, and that's just the way he looks. That's what I. I don't know. Maybe we need to watch that movie and see what the hell that's all about. I'm gonna have to make up I'm gonna take my notepad. So I watched this twice. I watched it once, and I'm like, let me rewatch this properly, and then like actually sit down and like watch it properly. But I got the soundtrack as well, so I bought the soundtrack on iTunes just because it's awesome. And I also got this, which we're gonna play, which is the RPG.
Nice.
That's cool. So that's just based on the poem, or that's not a movie merchandise, right? Oh, it is the movie.
It's the movie.
Oh, cool.
So really, this studio is crazy. They just make cool shit like this. The rules are 2 pages, so we can learn. I learned them in 1 second. And you could be a bard, a hunter, like fighter, a noble, whatever. Like it's like you could be all the character classes from D&D.
I just think it's awesome that there's merchandise. Like it's probably the only merchandise for this thing, but like I can't believe there's like game out for it. Like
so there's that, and then there's this, which gives you the direct.
Yeah,
it's like it's the first half's like all the director notes and stuff talking about the movie and stuff. Right. And then there's the soundtrack, which I bought. Now you could buy the vinyl soundtrack, which is green. Like it's green.
Oh, the vinyl is green?
Yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah. I was gonna get the vinyl just to get it, but like I had to order this. And this is super available. They sent it to me right away. And I'm like, it's awesome. Like we're gonna play this for sure. It's a 1d20. So it's 1d20 and you're rolling check this out. You're rolling against your honor. So you know how there's armor class, or if there's like a skill check, I do difficulty rolls. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be, you need a 15, and then you roll and you add modifiers. Mm-hmm. This one you roll against your honor. So your honor starts at like 10. And if you want to do honorable things, you could do honorable things or dishonorable things, and that's what you roll against. So it's like you have dishonor. So you have a dishonor 10. If you want to do something dishonorable, you have to roll lower. Mm-hmm. If you want to do something honorable, you have to roll higher. So as your dishonor goes down, it's easier to do honorable things. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you'll have to do dishonorable things. Like if you lie, that's dishonorable. But you have to lie in order to get, in order to, like, if someone's like, it's like you there, or, where are you hiding that prisoner or something? It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. You lied. So you just got dishonor. But it's going to help you defeat the guy, right? So it's like, and then you'll make up the honor points to outweigh the dishonor points. Yeah. That's it. The only mechanic is honor.
That's cool.
That's all it is.
What would it be for this? Of course.
Yeah, you're basically. I watch people play it, and they're very like wait, because like you watch these old D&D guys playing this, and they're completely confused. Like, wait, what's my armor? They're like, no, you succeed. You succeed or fail based on your skill check versus your honor. You have modifiers. So if you're good at fighting, you get a +2. Now, if you're doing an honorable act. If you're going to fight someone and it's an honorable, it's like they challenge you to a fight, you accept the challenge, you fight them. That's an honorable fight. If you're doing an honorable fight, you get a +2 to your roll to try to beat your dishonor rating. But if you're fighting someone and it's dishonorable, you can use it and get a -2 to help you succeed.
Oh.
So you can succeed at dishonorable acts by subtracting from your roll to get lower than your dishonor. I'm like, this is kind of genius. Like, and and I started to think, I'm like, there's no reason to make this book or this role-playing game for this movie. Like, nobody's gonna, like, this is not gonna take over the world. It's not gonna be the new D&D. It's not gonna be Conan role-playing. It's not gonna be Buffy role-playing where it's like everyone's playing it. It's like, this is no reason. You literally created this to be awesome. That's the only, I can't think of any other reason than to create an entire role-playing game on this artsy movie that has nothing to do with RPGs at all. Like it's like you're watching it. And I thought like Sean did. I'm like, oh, this isn't part of the movie, but there's like pictures of the movie. I'm like, I guess this is part of the movie.
Yeah, because that cover is just like a drawing,
a generic cover. Yeah, but it's so, and it gives you, it's only like it's less than 100 pages, and like it gives you an adventure to start with, and then you can add adventures. So we'll definitely play it for sure because we're up to playing some stuff anyways.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sean, you're back now.
I'm back. Yeah,
you're back. Okay, so anything else to mention about how long have we been going for? Oh, an hour and 24 minutes. Holy shit. Okay, so I was thinking, anything else to talk about? Any other thoughts about the movie or whatever?
I just thought it wasn't that artsy only because I felt it was fairly linear. And it's like there's a sort of like stream of consciousness to it that like when that when they showed him dead and they showed him alive, I understood what that was.
Right.
It's artsy insofar as it's unconventional, but it's I understood the movie to be what you're explaining with that game. It's like tests of honor among the 5 points.
Yeah.
It's, and when you look at it that way, it's not. There's no riddle to it. It's but it's just done very artfully.
Yeah, I would say it is. I would say I would use the word accessible because when I look at a movie like this, I immediately think like I use my dad as a standard, right? My dad hates movies with like time travel or jumping around a lot. He wants beginning, middle, end. and he wants it all to make sense. And I was sitting there
He hates
saying,
Memento, yeah.
would my dad be able to watch this movie? And like pretty early in, I went, hell no. Like you would lose him with probably when he meets Winifred and then he gets the head and then the disembodied head talks to him. Like he'd be like, okay, quick, like I'm out. So I would say, yeah, I think we're all, because we watch so many, like not just like, Hollywood movies, but different movies. And, we all went like, I think we take it for granted sometimes about our knowledge level and also our tolerance level for this sort of thing. Like when you watch movies that like David Lynch and you've seen a few of them, you're like, oh yeah, it's just David Lynch. And then you show it to someone else and they're like, holy hell, what the hell is this shit? And like those are the people who make up the audience generally. So my dad is I count him as a general audience member, and he would not like this movie at all. I wouldn't even show it to him because he'd be like, this is, I don't understand. This is weird. This is stupid. That's it.
Yeah, I don't think it's like when Sean and I when we're talking about it saying, oh, it's an art movie. Like for me, I understood or was able to figure out things while watching it pretty good.
Yeah.
And so was my wife. We had different interpretations. Like, okay, this is chastity. This is not whatever. Well, not on that one, but you know what I'm saying. It's like, and I know the 5 points, but I already know these things from before.
Mm-hmm.
So when she was saying stuff, she was like saying, oh, I can't remember like some of her points that we were kind of different on, but she was like, oh no, this happened. I'm like, no, that didn't happen. Or it's like, or at least it's not from the poem like that. So now I didn't know the poem because the last time I saw that poem was in grade 7.
Yeah.
But I know the Sword of the Valiant movie. And in that one, it's a very clear, it's like, here are 4 riddles that you must solve. He literally says, here's 4 riddles that you must solve. And as each scene goes, they literally recap the riddle he just solved. He's like, where there is emptiness, there is fire. Aha. And you're like, okay. Right. It's like and this chastity and this 5 points, that's all gone. They don't care about any of that. He just gives them 4 riddles and says, figure these out and then you're good. And he literally, the Green Knight says, if you figure them all out, I won't take my swing.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay. And so you're, so I'm thinking like, okay. And in the poem, yeah, he gets nicked and everyone wears like a green thing to represent, to honor him and all that. So I kind of knew, like, I'm like, well, he doesn't get killed. So I had all these expectations. So it was just done in a beautiful way, but also a little bit unclear where I was thinking, I'm like, man, I bet you wouldn't know anything watching this. And that's why I asked Steve, I was like, do you know the Green Knight? And you're like, no, I don't know anything about it. I'm like, oh, nice. And there's a guy at work who's a movie guy, watches every movie. I was like, did you watch the Green Knight? And he's like, yeah, I watch it because he's like, whatever new movie comes out, I just go watch. And he's like, and I'm like, well, it's King Arthur. He's like, oh, is that King Arthur? I'm like, whoa. So he didn't know that was King Arthur or Morgan Le Fay or anything. He was just like, well, I don't know what the hell was going on in that movie. So it's an art movie. Now, for us, Lost Highway or Mulholland Drive is an art movie, to Sean's point, which is like, the timeline's all over the place.
Yeah.
This really it's very clear to everybody that when the camera pans around and he's dead, it's very clear to most people that he is not dead. This is just what will it look like if he stays there and does nothing. It pans back. He musters up the courage to release himself. Yeah. In the end, when you see that flashback or flash forward or whatever, then you're like, oh, it's just a dream sequence. Like a regular movie, not regular, but above average movie person will be like, oh, that's a dream sequence. I get it. That didn't really happen. This is what will happen if he doesn't take his licks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So David Lynch does things where it's like, you don't even know what's going on. Like Mulholland Drive, the entire first hour could be fake. Like right? It's like none of that happened. You're like, oh, okay. So, and that to us is where you're getting into an art movie.
Yeah.
Where I don't even know I don't know at any point in time during a David Lynch movie, except for Dune, if I'm watching what I'm supposed to be watching as a narrative, or is he just showing me a bunch of random images that I'm supposed to somehow figure it out at the end? I love Mulholland Drive.
Eraserhead.
Eraserhead's great. I didn't like Lost Highway when I saw it in the theater because that was the first David Lynch movie I saw. And I thought, this was weird. And I thought the first half an hour or first hour was great.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, this just became like actors changed. I'm like, well, okay. Like I was okay with James Bond changing but not in the same movie. Right? You're like this is I'm like, wait, is that character? They changed Bill Pullman into what's his name? It was like someone else after. I'm like, oh, that's not him. So
I remember one
that's
time you
weird.
said, like, because there's a rumor that David Lynch might do a Batman movie, and you said if David Lynch did a Batman movie, this is what would happen. The first 5 minutes, Batman goes up to the camera and he takes off his head and it's a woman or something like that. It's just like,
Yeah, he'll like rip
and
his
no
face
one
off
would know,
and
and then they just carry on with the movie as though nothing happened. Yeah.
and you're like, that was symbolic because a bat can be anything. And you're like,
Right.
okay, no.
Well, I mean, I know this isn't supposed to be the David Lynch stream, but like, obviously, Eraserhead is about how, just the average like humdrum life, like is monstrous and murders you. But like that baby at the end, I'm like, my God, who the hell came up with this?
That's awesome. I thought it was don't live in an industrial area. That was like my takeaway. I'm like, it's the fumes of that place.
It's like a naked lunch. Don't do drugs.
Yeah, no, that was my absolute. I was in class for that, and we watched Naked Lunch, and literally my buddy Jason, who's a guy from university, not my guy I met at university, Jason. Me and him saw some weird ass movies together. We saw Besmois together. Oh dear, in the theater, buddy. That's how good I am. Anyway, so we watched Naked Lunch, and then when the movie ended, we're like, whoa. And I was like, what was that movie about? He literally turned to me, he's like, don't do drugs. I'm like, sold. It's like, I am never, that's the scared straight, when people are like, oh, we gotta get the drug therapy. Here, watch this movie. It's like, you kill your wife.
Lunch. Yeah.
You accidentally kill your wife. Then there's these cockroach typewriters that talk to you. Then all of a sudden you're being raped by a giant centipede. I'm like, whoa, I'm out. I like as soon as that
I love the part
centipede
where
guy
he's like
came in,
rubbing the typewriter's sphincter, and he's like,
yeah. Dude, yeah, no, I think when Warlock, Julian Sands is like a giant centipede, I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I'm never doing any drugs.
Just an aside to Cronenberg, it's like and we've talked about this before with Existence, where like they had to squish organs. It's like, I guess it's sexual, but like. But that whole thing with the typewriter is like you can just get away with anything.
It's so like, weird
because the ratings people like we don't know what we're looking at. It's like they think it's sexual. I don't know, and it's like fucking PG. I don't know.
Yeah, you can't David Cronenberg makes movies that cannot be rated by conventional beings. Like they're just like they're because they sit there like this, right? They're watching a movie and they're like, okay. 10 minutes in, we saw the F word, okay? And then, okay, we saw nudity. We saw a naked man. There's more swearing. And they write all this down, and they're like, well, that's got to be rated R. I'm sorry. There's too much gore.
On it, and they're like, yeah, it's got.
There's like too much gore. It's like, okay, half an hour in, there's there's a bunch of decapitations. They're watching David Cronenberg, like, someone is molesting organs that are attached by an umbilical cord to someone's back. They're like, this is weird, but it's not. There's no balls. Right. There's no genitals. There's no swearing. There's no genitals. There's no private area. There's no swearing.
But it's sexual, but you can't quite put your finger on it.
Right, it's just something weird is going on, and that sphincter thing is super weird. Yeah, that's like beyond.
He has to rub the jelly on it.
He goes, oh, rub my. Yeah, he goes, oh, get like moisturize me and stuff. You're like,
I think David Cronenberg makes movies just to throw the censors off, the raters off.
Oh yeah, and the guy, and you know the guy, when you wait, when you're at your job Monday morning and you see your queue. Oh yeah. The censor guy wakes up and is like, all right, yeah, we've got a Spielberg movie I gotta watch. Like, oh, I gotta watch a Cronenberg movie. And the guy's like, God damn. And he's like, I'm calling in sick. Right? It's like, I can't, and then he goes to the supervisor, dude, I just did the last Cronenberg movie. Can you hand this off to Jim Bob? Like, I can't rate, no, you gotta watch it. It's like, God damn. And
Cronenberg isn't like a weird, stupid man, and he knows what he's doing. Because I remember I loved him anyways, but I didn't really see a lot of him like the person. And there was that interview in I can't like Cinescape or something when he's talking about Jason X, and he's like he's like, oh, I'm in the movie. I play the kind of guy that you want dead in 1 second. And I'm like, well, this guy's awesome. Like, it's like he's a normal guy, you know? Yeah.
David Cronin, my best picture is him like leaning on those movie reels that has blood all over them, and it's like I'm just like this guy. You're like, David Cronenberg is the best. Literally, John Carpenter, David Cronenberg. Like, I think John Carpenter's number one, and David Cronenberg's got to be number two. We got to do. I don't even know if we could do a David Cronenberg stream. We would need to do every movie what we just did now, because it's just like, at least the first like 7 David Cronenberg movies are just outrageous. Like The Brood and stuff. Like, they're so awesome. It's hard. Like, I need to really buy the best editions. I'm trying to go and buy all the best versions.
That should be the next Arrow set.
Yeah.
Like before Hollywood or something.
The Cronenberg collection or
the pre-Hollywood years. Yeah.
Oh my god.
The big classics.
Yeah. Like even like, I mean, The Brood is awesome. We saw that I saw that in the theater. No, I didn't see it in the theater. I'm sorry. I saw a trailer for it in the theater.
Like, what the fuck?
No, I saw Rabbit in the theater.
Okay.
Not when it came out.
Okay, Jesus! I thought that I was like, "What the hell were you like?"
No, God, no,
like
not when those came out.
What the hell was that?
No, I love Scanners. I think that's my favorite, just because Daryl Revok is like the greatest name ever, and Blowing Up the Head.
Yeah,
that's my thing. Let's put it on for just a second, just to. Where's my head exploding? I have so many of these GIFs now, I can't find them all. Oh, where is it? Where's my head explode? Oh, here it is. Head explode. Boom. Look, when that happened, I was like, holy crap, that was awesome. Because you're like, oh. And they mention it in Wayne's World and stuff, where they're like, remember when you're watching Scanners?
I remember the SNL appearance by what's his name? Jim Carrey, his episode where like randomly, like he's arguing with another guy and he's like, "Scan me," and they're both scanning each other, and like blood comes from their head and everything. I'm like, Jesus, what a random Scanners reference. That's what happens when you get Canadian in there. It's like,
and I was wearing my Scanners shirt at a toy show years back, and remember who was there, Sean? It was the guy the guy with the lisp, who's on Big Bang Theory.
Oh, Kripke. Yeah.
So Kripke was there. I met Kripke. Did you know that, Steve?
Yeah, you mentioned it.
Yeah, I met Kripke, and I got his autograph for free. He was just there talking. And Captain Sweatpants was there too.
Yeah.
So I met Kripke, and I was wearing Scanners, and he's like, Scanners! And then we're talking about David Cronenberg. Big Bang Theory got super who gives a shit put to the side. He's like, oh man, Scanners, like Cronenberg. And we're like, oh shit, yeah. And he's like, oh, you know, sick this part. He's like, yeah, Cronenberg. And then we start talking about The Brood. We're like, what happened here? All of a sudden, it's like Big Bang Theory. What's that about? Nobody cares about that show. It was Cronenberg.
Next Cronenberg or something.
Yeah, and then the thing is that because he's a Canadian guy, he's like, dude, you gotta be at the Scanners and all.
I didn't know he's Canadian. Kripke is Canadian, or
I think so. Because why would he be in the Burlington Toy Show? That was like the super low.
Oh yeah, it was odd. Yeah, so I guess he lives in Burlington somewhere.
Something. Yeah. He must be somewhere. Like I don't know why it has nothing to do with toys. Like they usually get wrestlers or whatever at these shows. Like why would they get?
He was the big star at that one.
Yeah,
because there's
a lineup.
Big Bang was like white hot at that time.
Oh yeah. So Kripke being there was like pretty awesome. But all right, so we got a little bit.
Green Knight. Man.
You can't do anything more. Yeah, look. If you're gonna start getting into these artsy movies, you know Lynch and you know the two Davids are coming up. the double D, double D, the big
2020 trample like David's. Like,
double D. That was the double deuce and thing out there.
Yeah, the double douche.
Double D
from fucking Roadhouse. Anyway.
Roadhouse. Yeah, double D. It's a deuce. It's a double deuce.
Yeah.
No, not douche.
Double douche.
No, but the guy is Sam Elliott or whoever it was.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, double douche. What are they come up with next?
All right, so tomorrow is nothing, right? Are we on Action Week tomorrow? No, we're not on Action Week tomorrow.
There's no
okay, so Sunday's going to be our regular show then.
Yeah.
Isn't Action Week doing On Dead We Ground next? I saw
not tomorrow.
Not tomorrow, no.
I hope not, because I haven't seen On Deadly Ground since it came out, and I remember
He said
nothing.
he wasn't doing something this week, so it'll probably be next week.
Yeah, On Deadly Ground is next Friday. I have to rewatch that big time. I didn't like that when I saw it, and I don't remember why. To me, it was the regular Seagal, like the 4 or 5 generic ones. This one fell in the but like everyone's dying over it. I'm like, I gotta rewatch this again. I just remember thinking it was kind of.
I remember not liking it either. I remember it being kind of the whole the big serious one. And I'm sure if I watch it now, it's not super serious at all.
No, Sean, you're right. I thought I was just like, this is like the downfall of Seagal.
You know what? And I said this. I saw this. I'm pretty sure it was University. And we had to watch it and talk about like Inuit rights and stuff. So that probably ruined the movie for me.
Right.
So 2 things. Yeah, it's not tomorrow. It's a week tomorrow.
Yeah.
The other thing is that John Ross Bowie, who played Barry Kripke, is from New York City. He's not.
Canadian. Oh, so why was he in Canada? Maybe were they filming something in Canada? Was he on it?
Paid him a lot or something? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he was like, I don't know. He's like one of these, I guess, like working actors. He might have been in a play or something nearby or something.
He must have been. There's no way they'd get these guys because we've gone to these shows. We've not missed a show. And it's like, and they never get guys like that. It's always like wrestlers or something. Because like they're trying to, it's always 80s and it'll always be older school. Like Tito Santana was there. Yeah. I didn't get a photo with him, but I took a photo of Tito. I took a photo of who else was there? A few other guys. Nobody super big, but like Tito was the big one. I remember thinking he was one of the bigger ones that came by. To one of those
Iron
shows.
Mike Sharp.
Yeah,
he passed away.
So. He passed away. Yeah, no, not that low. Some of the other, the higher up people,
like the what do you
higher up, like the mid, not super high, like not Hogan or anything, right? But like,
right, like Greg Valentine.
Greg Valentine will pop by or somebody, or Demolition or something, or like Repo Man or whatever. Who's Typhoon. They had, I think they had Typhoon. I like Typhoon. I would have loved to have met Earthquake. Just because when Earthquake came out of the audience, and I'm like, this is unbelievable. That's where I started to realize that like this is like wrestling has become outrageous. we're not talking about that. Okay, guys, that's it. We talked about Green Knight. We loved Green Knight. It's great. Check it out. If you do, let me know what your thoughts are, and we'll be back Sunday night with our regularly scheduled programming. All right, guys, take care.